Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Holly.
Good.
Oh, this way.
Coconut.
Holly's on Zoom.
Holly's on her way.
She's on Zoom.
Oh.
Can you?
Morning, Holly.
Good morning.
The one that looks like this is the one that Holly sent to us. And the lines in it is one that I went through and I made suggestions. If you look at like the first page of these, you'll see.
You have this stuff
The
that
right north column.
Holly sent in.
Yeah, that's the one. Well, Julia can explain it. She's explaining it to Frank.
No, one with the lines in it.
The lines in it,
So this one is the one that Holly sent to us.
let me, this one.
Yeah. And then the second one that has lines in it that looks like this.
This one.
Yeah. So they're the same general fund, except this one is the one that I have made those cuts on that potentially show you guys some ideas and help out with this. You don't have to follow them, they're just suggestions. But the way that this is done, if you look on the first page, for example, under 404-310, law, solicitor.
On the first page,
Third,
4 what?
404-310. You're in the wrong one, you need the one with the lines.
44310.
Yeah, but you need the one with the lines.
Thought this was the one with the lines.
So you have this
Well,
one.
then I just showed you the wrong things, I guess.
Yeah, you just figured that one. How are we gonna copy of that?
I don't think I did. If there's something new that was made.
Yeah. I don't have internet right now. I will have to go connect my computer to send this first. But if you look at 404, you'll see that it's been kicked down to 110,000. And with that, there's 10,000 because I removed 10,000 from that.
Yeah.
So that's how all of that works. Holly, I'm so sorry. I will remit myself and go send that to you.
Okay, so line 404-310 went to 110,000.
Right. Yeah, she's gonna email you the that version in a moment. There's no, for some reason, Wi-Fi in the room at the moment, so she's gonna go to her office and send you that real quick.
Okay, thank you.
We lost power. I wonder if we have to reboot.
No, we did that yesterday.
Yeah. Or do you want to do it again today?
Well, we'll see. Sometimes it's just fun. I mean, I have Wi-Fi in here. It's very selective in who
Yeah.
does not who.
Do you have any? Was that do you have signal on your?
Well,
Oh,
I appear to be on the Wi-Fi. I'm not.
I'm not.
Anybody on the Wi-Fi?
Okay, we on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll begin the fifth take on the 2021 budget. with our meeting. We'll start the meeting at I got about 10:05. Is Robert on his way?
Yeah.
So do you want to begin without him, and he'll catch up? What do you think? We might as well dig in, right?
Yeah, I don't imagine he'll be too long anyway.
No, okay. All right, so, Holly, did you receive, Julie sent the, revised sheets?
I'm rechecking my email. Oh, there it is. Okay. Great.
Okay. I'll take a second to just look through it, or we're gonna address each of these items, so. What needs to be finalized here today?
So it might be easier to start by looking at the highway fund, because that's the smaller of the two, and you can take that off pretty easily. As most of you are aware, we had a small hiccup with liquid fuels recently, so we're going to have some money left over for next year to the tune of approximately $189,000. So my thought was, that we put that money back into the highway fund, and reflect it on the sheet that you have in front of you, and then use that additional 189 and put it down into 9.002 for bridge maintenance and repair, and use that to potentially cover any repairs or whatever we're going to be doing with the Green Mountain easement.
There it is.
Hi, Robert.
Morning.
We're just starting on the highway fund.
Okay, so the situation was, there was a glitch, that's for sure. And, what happens is that now we're going to, we did an outside job we contracted for, I think it was $189,000, am I in that ballpark? And we expected to pay a good part of that through our liquid fuels allocation. And then we supplemented the highway fund with a deposit of $80,000 from the general fund. And, excuse me, we learned that there was a situation where we're going to have to pay that particular cost out of the general fund, which means that our liquid fuels fund will stay as it is and be healthier than it's been in a long time. So we were going to consider taking that $80,000 out of it, out of the liquid fuels, and putting it back in the general fund. That was the thought going in today, and you saw the back and forth on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to we'll address that at the Supervisors meeting, work session, but it's a significant amount of money just going back and forth. So, we are, Julie had, you had a suggestion for?
Well, I figured we would start in the highway fund, and to catch Robert up, if you look at the highway fund, under 355.020, under the liquid fuel tax, I put back in that $189,000 that we've lost, and then I've, under expenses, put that in under 439.002, under bridge maintenance and repair to cover any expenses for the Green Mountain Bridge. Consequently, I've removed that from the general fund.
All right, the situation is we are going to pay that cost $180 out of the general fund, which leaves us with, do you know what we have now in liquid fuels after that is, that adjustment is made? How much money is in liquid fuels?
Sharon would have the actual numbers.
Okay.
didn't even hear what you were asking.
Sure. Situation is that we intended to use the liquid fuels money, and all of it actually, and supplement it to pay for this paving project that we did this year. Because of, a matter that, changed things for us in that regard, we're going to pay for the paving out of the general fund and not touch the liquid fuels. But we want to take the $80,000. We want to consider taking the $80,000 that we just put into that fund back to the general fund.
Are we talking about on the spreadsheet itself? The adjustments we made? The journal? So then on the actual highway fund spreadsheet, 355.020 would be $452,005. That's what we have on.
And that's and that's comprised of the allocation, 63. Right.
Right, for next year.
Yeah, right. And the 189. Well, that's the cost of that project that we're doing, that we have to pay it out of the general fund. So there's an adjustment I have to make here today.
Well, you also have it coming out.
Yeah, yeah.
We had that 189 set aside for this year for a project.
In liquid fuels.
In local. Yeah. And then we have to pay that 189 out of our general fund. So that means that liquid fuels money will still be present in the highway fund for next year. For that. And we have an opportunity.
So in other words, the 189 is coming from this, income.
It'll be a holdover, yeah.
So it's like a
Well.
So I'm not following you. You're going to have excess of 189 left over in 2020?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
because we can't spend it out of liquid fuels.
All right, but the liquid fuels account now will not reflect the 189,000. But that'll be paid out of the general fund, and I don't know, and that's done. I don't think $189,000 is going to be available to carry over, if we pay it out of the general fund.
189 going to the fund balance forward. 399.0.
You are correct. Yeah, that was my mistake.
Yeah, because it's confusing the way it is.
My
It's
fault.
not an income line.
No.
So you're gonna move the 189 out of 3555020 and just put it down below 399.01 balance forward.
But here's what I'm saying. We're going to pay the $189,000 out of the general, out of the general. So, there is no reason for us to take that 189 and.
Oh, you're not gonna pay that?
We're paying it, but only out of the general fund. So, the 189,000 would.
Here as an expense.
Yeah, so let me back up. We have $189,000 right now, saving that we did.
Right.
Because there was an error in our ability to follow through with PennDOT and Second Class Township Code regulations. PennDOT did not approve us to pay it out of the highway fund. So now instead of using the highway fund money to pay that bill, we have to take it out of general fund this year.
Okay, so why is it as an expense?
So, what I had thought, the board at their last session was discussing needing to do bridge repair or finding, or doing other work.
Oh, so you're doing something else with
Right,
this?
so, and they had discussed $200,000 for that expense.
Good.
So then the idea was to take that $189,000 that will now be sitting in our liquid fuel and put that towards the bridge repair.
Okay.
That was I need.
I get it. So you just gotta move that.
I do, yeah, we do need to move it down. I did put it into the wrong line item. It should be in 399, excuse me,
1-0.
point zero.
Unbalanced dollars.
So again, what I'm trying to say is that, out of our general fund now, we have $189,000 we have to pay. $189,000, we're going to augment the liquid fuels, so that, I don't know what that is, but 189,
Paying that this year.
times 2, yes, we are paying that this year. But the $189,000 that would have been paid out of the liquid fuels is not going to be paid out of liquid fuels because we're paying it out of the
You're
general.
doing something else with it in liquid.
That's exactly what we want to do.
Right.
But that $189,000, I mean, the perception is that now we would have, I think you have $452,000 in liquid fuels for 2021. And I don't think that's our intent, to spend $189,000 and put that into the liquid fuels account. Well,
I'm confused. The $189,000 is being transferred from the general fund?
No. We're going to pay the $189,000 that we thought we could use, liquid fuel monies for. But as, Julia explained, there was a glitch and, we have to pay that $189,000 out of the general fund.
Correct, this year, not the budget.
That's right. And now on the budget 2021, I see where, we're, thinking of putting that $189,000 back into the liquid fuels
Well, it is.
for 2021.
Well,
No, it's not. Well,
You didn't spend it,
yeah, right. Yeah,
it's still sitting there, right?
that's my
That's-
understanding.
it's right, in liquid fuels now, the bill, would have depleted the liquid fuels. We moved 80,000, wasn't it 80,000? Was
Yeah.
80,000 to supplement the liquid fuels account. So that we could do this, pay this 189 plus have some money to get to March when the new liquid
You
fuels
moved
money.
80,000 already this year.
Yeah, we're gonna take that back. We found out by our, advisor that, in fact, we are allowed to do that. And, Lynn.
Take back the 80,000,
Okay,
do you
so
still
then-
have the 180?
What the question becomes now is, Sharon, can you look into the highway fund and see how much money is in there,
Exactly.
less a deposit of $80,000 that the board is planning on removing?
Right.
So as of, this copy I have is only as of September 30th, this QuickBooks.
Okay, so then we need to talk to Lynn.
I'll go ask Lynn right now.
Yep.
But it's showing, as of September 30th, 194,000.
Okay,
You
and,
want the car balance
Yeah.
minus 80,000?
Yeah.
All right.
so I guess what we're saying is that, we gotta pay out of the general fund 189. Now, we're gonna
Take back 80.
think about taking 189 and putting in for 2021 to augment the, I don't,
As long as you have that, but if you're gonna take 80,000 back,
right,
we have to see
what
what
that
he's
budget
doing
is.
there, if there's enough money.
And as you know, we don't get liquid fuels monies until March 1st.
And you know how much you get, that 263 is
Yeah.
verified, right?
Right.
So how can we make the liquid fuel tax 452,000 if what you're really receiving is 263,000?
Probably that number should have been moved down. that number that account should still be 263, but they added 189, but, yeah, as you can see on the side, but that 189 should have gone down below to fund balance forward.
Okay, so there really will be $189,000 left in the highway fund to be able to
That's what-
transfer. That's what,
Well, we're not,
okay,
yeah, we're gonna get that balance now.
okay,
For the highway. And then what'll happen is we did supplement the highway fund so that we could pay this bill and have some money to get it to March 1st, Holly, in highway expenses. And, now that we're paying it out of the general fund, I don't know that we have to take $189,000 and put it into the liquid fuels account to bring it up to $452,000.
well, I thought there was a problem with commingling the money from the general fund into the liquids fuel funds.
There was, Holly, and we looked into it, and Lynn was in touch with John Mazur. He's our liaison, if you will, advisor. And he said, no, you can do that. Now, in the past, I'm just going to say that in conversations with John, he kind of implied that you couldn't. But he, in writing, got back to Lynn and says, yes, you can do this. So this is the $80,000.
Well, let's back up.
Let's take $189, add $80,000 to it, and that's what we did in the liquid fuel.
I believe what the question is coming down to now is whether or not the $189,000 that we were going to pay for the paving job was fully liquid fuels money, or if a portion of that was liquid fuels money, and then we had to put in that to offset it. So here comes Jacob back with numbers.
Did we put the 80,000 in? We did.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
John Mazur, he said that we could transfer it.
Take it back.
so I have two numbers. The highway fund right now is $232,629.81.
And that includes the $80,000 that you transferred from the general fund to the highway fund.
Correct. And then minus the $80,000 is $152,629.81.
So there's nothing that left, what's going to need to be paid out of that between now and the end of the year. We can't necessarily assume that that's going to be available to roll into 2021.
But the balance, the 152,629 would certainly be more than enough. The reason we put the 80,000 in there was to cover the liquid fuels that to make that a payment of 189 and carry us through, hopefully, till March 1st. What's that?
So,
When was the 80,000 transferred?
About 2 weeks ago, I think.
About-
We approved that at a public meeting, yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna take it back and we say we have 152,000 left. And there's
Which is more than we've ever had left,
So there's
ever.
nothing else gonna be expended
Yeah,
in the rest of this year?
yeah, there is, but it's a guesstimate, Frank. Do we need salt? It almost snowed last night. You know what I mean? We had squall come through, the boys didn't go
We
out.
don't know yet what the balance forward.
Right.
so then we.
So if you get, you're going to have at least $40,000 of expenses between now and the end of the year if we have a heavy snow month in December. So, 100 to 110 as that surplus would probably be a better estimate.
110.
Does that make sense?
So the 355,020 go back to 263,035.62.
Yeah.
And so the question is, how much is gonna put below on the fund balance forward?
So we then assume 110, like Holly suggested for that?
Then we might have, of the 152, you might have 110 left at the end of the year.
The 152 left at the end of the year would,
We might have 100.
that'd be 12,000, and we're very close to,
She did
12 grand.
152,
right?
and she's saying,
We'll spend 12,000 is what you're saying.
oh, you spent 40. So
No.
152
The 152, what will that figure be at the end of 2020?
That's what we're trying to estimate,
Right, and you're figuring about maybe
110.
110?
Yeah, the reason I'm saying that is because in the fourth quarter, you've normally had to supplement, I think it's around $40,000 of expenses. I'm looking for the number, and that's why I was throwing that out there. So let me just see what we can find that was funded last year and say, okay, well, that's going to be your expenses coming out, and then the residual will be what's left over. Does that make sense?
Does. So historically, what we're saying is that the reason that, again, we put the 80,000 in there. But the reason we put it in there was to make sure we had enough money to pay the 189 and money left over to carry us to March, through this year, and then into March. So what we'll find out is last year was relatively mild, early anyway, but that's not reflective of the cost. As you know, if we get a half an inch of snow and it's a freezing snow, you're out there like you had a foot of snow. And you use the same amount of materials and all that kind of stuff and manpower.
Yeah, you had about $20,000 of snow and ice removal in December of last year that came, that the general fund had to chip in. And I think there was some other expenses that were just in the fourth quarter, and I'm looking for it. So maybe a moderate estimate would be 30,000, and that you'll have $123,000 left over. Does that make sense where I'm getting that from?
I think that's as well. We had a month and a half already. Materials, we're ahead of that. We have our materials for the roads, and we'll have to again augment that. But 30 would be more than enough, I think, to get us to the end of this year. Okay. And then we and carry over the 123, yeah.
So that would mean that you'd have another transfer from the general fund to make up that difference if you want to pay the $189,000 out of the highway fund.
No, they're gonna pay that out of the general, the 189.
Right, but I think what Holly's referring to is the bridge, right? You're talking about 439,002, right?
Right.
Okay, that's something else.
That's, yes, maybe we're not at the bridge.
Yeah, that 002 would now reflect the 123.
Right, that would have to be
The fund balance.
lower. That would have to be lower too.
Correct.
Right.
180, right.
So
139,002 would have to be lowered to the amount left over.
Correct.
123.
If, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but if we have found subsequently that it is okay to move from the general fund over, or are you saying or is that still not okay, but you're able to take the money back that you put in? Because if you are able to put the money from the general fund over, then we could treat it as a transfer and just have it paid out of all of one fund.
Well, I think the situation is after we, again, Holly, after we pay the $189,000 for work already done, and that'll be done probably within the next week or so in 2020, and then we'd look for reserves of maybe $30,000 to get us to December 31st of 2020, and then go into the new year with a balance in the liquid fuels of 120,000, I guess. It's roughly that. 152,629 minus 30. And then our liquid fuels for the upcoming year, it will be 263,035.62. So if you take that figure and take the 120, that 262 becomes 363, almost $400,000 there. Is that correct?
So I guess what I'm asking is that the bridge repair is going to be estimated at 123,000 for the excess that you have left over, but you're still not entirely sure what the bridge repair is going to run. Is that correct?
That's correct. We do not, and actually, we're looking at some other things. I think Robert has a meeting with a real estate agent. Appraiser. And what we're looking to see is, to put some kind of a value on an easement that we may have to, go forward with on that particular property to have access to Green Mountain Road, so that, emergency vehicles and, propane, oil trucks, whatever, ambulances can get in there. So that's what we're doing now. So if we did that, then the repair of the road is, hopefully something that we can, bring up the standards, but in a phased operation.
Okay.
So let's just put back 263, 03562, replace the 462 right there. And then in fund balance forward, what did you say we had there?
123,000.
Is it even, or just put a?
Yeah.
We'll just put 123,000 there, and then.
Right.
And then down in bridge maintenance and repair,
The difference.
we reduced that to 123,000.
Does that work?
Yes. Yeah, I'll say yes.
That's zero out? Is that zero?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does that make our expenses and income total 433,515.62?
Yes,
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah.
And you're gonna take back the 80,000 in the next week or two.
I'm gonna pay that bill in 2020. We'll pay that probably, we can even authorize that tonight.
I mean, you're gonna transfer 80,000 back.
That'll be,
from the-
yeah, we'll.
That you put in back into your.
Sharon, what was that final
Yeah.
number on the expenses?
433,
Mm-hmm.
515.60.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, are we ready to move on to the general fund then?
We're okay here, everybody?
Yeah.
As long as that zero's out.
As long as that balances, yeah.
I think on the general fund, then the first thing to look at really is how this number affects the general fund and go from there.
Well, and our general fund is gonna be an expense incurred this year, so it is what it is.
Doesn't affect
Right.
for next year.
Yeah.
For originally, when I was looking at it, we had put 200,000 in there, and maybe the new one took that out. I'm not sure. On account 439.45. Okay, so that was taken out, Julia. I see that. Okay. So that's now 0. Or, right?
Holly, I'm sorry, can you say that again, please?
Account 439.245 is now 0, correct?
But now we do need to consider putting in an additional money for that, because what we had considered originally as that 189 is no longer valid. Originally, at the last budget meeting, that number was, I believe, 200,000. Yes.
So that 189,000, and maybe I'm getting confused, that is the current paving job, but it is also the estimate for the bridge repair? I'm not clear, because if you're already expending that in 2020, I'm not quite sure how it's rolling over to 2021.
The current bridge repair that the board has discussed at, the last budget meeting, they had put in the number for 200,000. The 189 is the money, I thought we had left over. We've been shown that that was incorrect, and at 152,000. Reducing that with expenses this year will be at the 123. So if the board is still of the belief that the bridge repairs will cost 200,000, if we subtract the 123,000 that we assume we'll have left from highway at the end of the year, we need to put 77,000 in that line item to make everything work for our assumed cost.
So
Right.
we carry in the 123 and the allocation of 263, and then take $200,000 off of that. We'd still have,
Okay,
money.
so what I'm hearing is that the 200 minus the 123 is 77,000, and that is the amount that you need to augment from the general fund in the account 439.245.
Yes.
Great. Okay, I'm clear.
All that, 245.
Okay. That's gonna become the 70-something,
77,000.
and then the club will go back into the balance forward,
Sorry,
the
what?
395,020. 020, balance forward general fund.
Feasibility, that's how we fix that.
What else does it say? Then we have to look at your change, proposed changes?
If the board wants to, they can. Otherwise, we're still,
I'd like to. It cuts the, deficit down.
it does, before the bridge discussions, I think it was just under 60,000 that we needed to forward over, which isn't great, but better than the 380 some that we were at.
and that reflects the payment of the 189,000.
It reflects the non-payment of it technically, but it reflects the money that we will have for next year because we screwed up.
Okay, so,
That will increase, that's 58.
Yes,
By the
region
70.
strategy. Yes.
All right, so you're gonna add,
Now, that balance for those, that's with your other proposed changes, though, Julia?
Yes,
Right, which we haven't done yet.
right,
that's correct.
Because I'm still showing, a deficit of 263,000 with that $77,000 change.
Right, so now we gotta look at your
Yeah.
changes on the right.
Okay. I'm going to start on the third page, right?
Yes.
Okay.
so Julia, the suggested changes you've got here? Want to lead us through that, please?
Sure. So some of them are, salary changes. I took another look at the salaries. We originally popped most of them up to 5%. We've since discussed 3%. So I dropped some of them down, one of them in particular a little bit more. One of the, changes that we'll have to really work for, is 40410 law, township solicitor. I did drop that line by $10,000. What that works out to is us using Ron 1 hour less a week. I think between the litigation that we have wrapping up with FNCB, and hopefully us battening down the hatches a little bit, I think that's possible. Additional changes, we had considered getting, Jacob, please remind me of the name of the program.
Savvy Citizen.
Savvy Citizen for next year. Perhaps with other technical changes that we're undergoing, maybe we think about waiting 1 more year before we that program.
What line item is it? I'm sorry.
407-260. I think.
Okay.
But I know the part of the impetus on that line item though was getting the larger scanner, and I think the recommended cut of 5,000 is too steep to still purchase that. So I think that was somewhere around $8,000, and Savvy Citizen was only like 3,500.
For the larger scanner?
Yeah, the 36-inch one that we talked about, the copier scanner.
Right.
Start with using right from the top page, right? That $10,000 change. Whether you either gotta accept it or not.
Right.
Let's move it down because we gotta get through this.
Right. Yeah.
So the 411.115 township manager salary was proposed to be reduced from 65, right? 65 to 55.
That's fine to me.
Whose salary is it? The
Manager.
That's what this is, Julia's put. Because this might.
This is the first time the board is seeing this. This is very much a discuss this now. I do realize that a lot of these are. Next session, discuss this.
That's up to you. So this has not been decided? No. How are we gonna do this?
I mean, I'm fine with that change. You know, I don't think for the others we need to go into executive session either. I mean, they're just changes.
We just skip that one?
Well, if Jacob's okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, because the others, I mean, that one is, you know, that one is what it is, and the others are just making sure that they fit.
We adjust salary items, we'll have to adjust the payroll tax item. Right,
Yeah, it'll just hit payroll taxes.
slightly, so, but let's get there when we get there.
It's, okay.
Okay?
Right, because you have a separate sheet to.
No, it's automatic, there's a formula in that will
Oh, it's
automatically.
in the formula?
Well, that's great.
Okay,
That's,
all right, so then,
that's cool.
so are we changing that? That,
I would be fine with that.
Susan, are you okay? So then,
This is the one that you.
401.115 becomes 55 now, the way it's proposed.
Right.
And going down to the next change is 404.310.
I think using Ron 1 less hour a week makes sense, and I think we can handle that, you know,
just through scheduling,
Yeah.
you know, like wean ourselves a little bit of.
All right, so that's gonna go, we'll adjust that as proposed here.
So it'll be 110?
Yeah, I got
Got
that.
that?
Okay.
All right, then the next change is 405.111.
And that would be,
Adjusting down $1,850, that's the administrative assistant.
is that Lynn?
That is, and again, this works with everything that we had discussed, it's just because
Before,
we
yeah.
picked everything up too high and averaged that.
Okay. So
Right.
that's, all right, we'll put that in. The next line is adjusting administrative secretary,
The same thing with,
same thing down, okay? But then the next line is adding 35,000.
Subtract 30.
Oh, subtracting.
Yeah, I think everything on the side you have is a subtraction,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so these are, yeah, it would have been nice, yeah, that's just for minuses would have been, all right, that's okay. We're taking out that 35,000 from the administrative assistant, I guess that position is not gonna happen.
That was slated to be the new position. I think in light, before everything happened with the highway fund, I think we were considering it now with an additional $100,000 of expenses. I don't know if we can afford hiring a new person right away.
at this, yeah, right,
Well,
to this budget.
our last discussion at the end of it, all of you had your mouths open at the amount of let's say, I'll call it the generous surpluses we had in our general fund. So where do we stand in that? Why are we making these changes if we have plenty of money sitting in the general fund above the $800,000 you said was usual as a surplus in most townships? What have we got?
Well.
What do we actually have?
And part of that right now is that we need to pay the highway fund out of that.
Well, that's $189,000, right?
Basically, so instead of having 800, now we're down to 6.
Well, wait a minute, we had more than 800 before, as I heard this in the last meeting.
We had
Much
discussed also the people's security that we're using for the bond payment. The problem with that is that I believe that bond payment is about $700,000 a year. At this time, we're not putting any money into that. So we really shouldn't consider touching that as a way to cover our expenses because we're going to need that for the sewer bond.
And let me just say that the sewer authority, they will, and again, they're 2/3 of that payment, almost. They'll have paid their fair share, 2023, I believe. And ergo, that bond is back on us totally.
Entirely.
And it's gonna be significant, it is significant, as I had mentioned. And I said maybe we would, wanna have $200,000, but I don't know how those markets work, but I agree with, Julia on that particular item.
Julia, outside of this meeting, I'd like to take a look at the cash balances and the reserves that are required and just have a look at that to see if it's something we can address next year in the way of what's available to put back into the general fund.
Can do.
Okay.
All right, so we moving ahead, are we taking that out?
Well, because feasibly
take it
with, sure, but feasibly too with the general fund, once we'll be down to 6, it's not like we anticipate, an insane amount of income being added to it. So we might still be on the net only at 500,000 or something by the end of the year with expenses, right?
Right.
It's possible. The other side of this, though, is that we don't know where COVID is going, so I would prefer to be ultra-conservative and come out ahead of the game rather than...
Oh, no, right. I'm just saying it's possible that we will have less than 600 at the end of the year. So for savings and rainy day and all that stuff, it makes sense to keep it as much as we can for the moment. I do think, I do share Robert's sentiment, though, that, there is quite a bit of, questions surrounding, why we have as much as we do. And I think it's fair, on the bond, but, I think come the next year, we really need to evaluate, how that's all done, and hopefully with our meeting with the SSA, we can figure out getting some interest on the general fund to make things better for us.
And that meeting has been December
21st,
21st.
I think at 11.
All right, so we're moving on.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so that's up.
Right.
All right, okay.
But
The next change is, 407-260.
yeah, that one, that change I think is too low to be able to get the scanner. So I mean, maybe if we only, because the scanner itself is like between 7,500 and like 8,000, right?
Okay.
So.
It wasn't for 10,000.
Yeah, it was for 10.5, and that fit in some leeway to get some other hardware if necessary, and then that scanner. So I think if we could take that instead of to 5,500, if we maybe put it at like, I don't know.
7,500?
Well, I mean, we want to get that scanner, right? I mean, we won't be able to afford it if we make a lower line item, right?
Well,
We could, but you're right. Do it now.
so if we bring it up to 8,500, add another 3,000 into it, can we take out anywhere else in the computer stuff, or would we just need to understand that we're adding that to our deficit?
We could, I don't know, theoretically, like with the social media consultant, if we use that the same way we do with Ron, take that down a couple hours, you know, per time, maybe you make that 7,000?
Okay, so that gives us $1,000 to bring up normal purchases.
May I ask a question while we're here? I remember something about a grant that you received for the capital items. Is that correct? I can't hear you now.
I just want to make sure there's no echo. Holly, can you hear us?
I can now. I just don't have video now, but I can hear you now.
Oh, you have no video? All right, a second.
Hold on, I can. Oh, you called. Okay, I got it. I've got your video feed, and I see that yep, we're good. I'm good. Okay, I'm good. So my question was that I was leading into was with the capital purchases. Did you have a CARES or something grant that came through for those items?
Everything with the CARES grant was spent and reimbursed this year.
Okay, all right. So this is all new for 2021. Okay, I'm good. I'm sorry. Thank you.
So what do you think the figure is, Jacob? 8,500?
Oh, on the computers, 407-260?
Yes.
Yes, that's fine.
We're at 65 now, wait a minute.
So, look, between the new hire, we're not hiring, between the scanner, we're not buying, between,
No, we are fine.
We're gonna buy the scanner.
how much are we saving in here? $50,000?
More.
Well, the scanner will cost like $8,000, so I think we agreed to take that to 8,500, right? For 407,260.
All right, then with 2,000 more.
Yeah, so
Right.
then we do have it 2,000 more than
We gotta add-
originally planned.
That's trying to make the 85, we're gonna have to make up the 2,000.
So then, let's say, you know, the 7,000 for the consultant, and then
Right.
the computer maintenance, take that down to 2,200, because we are weaning more and more off of Sundance. And there you go.
All right, 2,200 on that, 32.
You did.
And then 8,500 on the computer. All right. So then that brings us to the next page. Another position proposed change on the 410.
Yeah, we have been hiring security guards for Minnesink and Marshall Falls. The hope and the plan at this point for Marshall Falls is to get construction started next year, which means we'll have security fences and construction site do not enter. At that time, we shouldn't need, security there. So I'm hoping that we can reduce that line item because of that.
From 15,000 to 10,000.
Forbid the noise for a second. I'm gonna put the screen down, that way there's less sun, because when it goes on the white budget papers, it kills my eyes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry about the rest of you in the other parts of the room that, the sun is not directly in.
Okay, so the security guards, yeah, we, again, that's something we'll be doing in 2021, but we have to take a long, hard look at it.
Are we gonna do that now, we're gonna make it
I-
now 15 to 10,000.
And that's for, boy.
410,000.
That's for both parks, Julia?
Minnesink and Marshall Falls, yes.
And because we'll be under construction, with, Marshall's Falls, we'll have to, pretty much shut that down during construction anyway.
Yeah, well, feasibly, when you have a construction site, they have the fences up and whatnot, so we shouldn't need guards on top of that, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay,
We're gonna do that, just?
yeah.
Okay. All right, so that's done. Okay, the next page, township cleanup expense, you wanna lower it by 2,000?
Yeah, I was actually talking to Ed, we might be able to take this down more. He is, of the belief we'll have more bids for cheaper dumpsters next year. The other thought with it is that we had a cleanup in the fall, and if we do one 6 months later, we might have less stuff showing up. So feasibly, we could drop this a little bit more if we wanted to.
I have 2 cleanups throughout the year.
Oh, no, just do one.
Oh, okay.
But because ours got.
But do it in the fall.
Right, because ours got pushed to the fall, and then when we resume our normal schedule in the spring, you'll be close together.
Do we wanna, maintain it at, Wednesday through Sunday?
I don't see why not.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah,
But perhaps we could consider
Okay.
dropping it to 15 then, or do you wanna keep it at 18?
To 15? Do you think it'll, does he have reason to believe that it might really come down that much?
He said that he's hoping to see the dumpster price cut in half.
Wow.
I'm not willing to go that low.
No, okay, so 15, that's you thinking, still conservative above that,
Yeah.
his, okay. I think 15 would make sense then.
Okay, so 15,000 for, 427.367.
Okay.
The next one, 430.110, is again, no actual reduction in salary, it's just an adjustment from the 5 to 3%.
Okay,
right.
So this will be 67,000.
okay. Wait, that's gonna be 67, but isn't his salary now the 66? I just wanna make sure we're not
So,
already.
No, right now, it is actually 63, but what you're seeing
Oh.
in the budget is
Overtime?
a reflection of overtime.
Okay, makes
That
sense.
is, okay, as opposed to another line item with overtime.
Right, because we don't have those, we're kind of, for the people, well, just like with the road crew, how we put that additional in for that, there's a buffer in there for expected overtime due to snow and other emergencies.
Great.
Like the other night, okay?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, and then,
Go down to what that, back to that 439, 245.
And that we made 77, right?
77,000 for that line item, yeah.
Okay.
77.
You made that 77,000. You got that, Sharon?
Yes.
All right, and that next page.
Again, 454.115 is just another accurate
Correction.
note. Yeah, it's a correction, thank you.
All right. It looks like now you got a big change on 454,800.
Yeah, so the green that you are seeing, or the dark gray, depending on which one you're looking at, these are all of the park funds that have been shifted into the general fund.
Oh, okay.
54,800 is the capital improvements for Marshall's Falls. Having spoken briefly with Brian, Smith from Barry Isaac, they believe that we'll be able to construct the parking lot without tearing down the actual house. They're concerned that we'll have to take the garage down, but not the house right away. Again, we're looking at trying to save money. It might be a viable idea to leave the house standing for a year, and just take the garage out so we can construct the parking lot, and then go after the house when we have a better idea and a better understanding.
And we could pursue a blight grant for that.
Basically, take the garage out because we have to for the grants to get the funds
Right.
for next year, and then go after the house when we have the money.
Makes sense.
Are you okay with that 20,000 reduction then?
That's it.
Or excuse me,
50,000.
50,000 reduction to 20,000.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we'll just make sure that, nothing's connected in the house once it's, empty. Make sure that we don't have it accidentally, have issues.
Yeah.
Unless of course it snows,
It's gotta be
quite a
secured.
bit. That would be, see what happens with that. See if it gets the same fate as that old roller rink and,
Well, if we're taking 70,000 out, I think like we should put some of that into the park fund.
50,000.
Do we have to take 70,000 out, or should we take 40,000
No,
out?
no,
Put 30,000 more into our park fund. Because what we have next year is almost no improvements whatsoever in our park. We need furniture, we need all kinds of things, just furniture, play equipment, and what we have there is useful. We have park benches, or rather picnic benches that look like they should be in the exercise yard of the county prison.
So you want, increase, you want to count that?
So I would say, we're gonna take 70,000 out, take 40,000 out,
50.
put 30,000 back in the park fund.
Taking 50 out.
We're taking 50 out.
Okay, 50, put 30 in and take 20 out. I think we need 30 more in
So
the
add
park.
30 back into what?
I think in the park fund.
Feasibility,
Capital,
yeah, feasibility, this would be capital improvements then for waterfront and menacing, because
For
that's
all.
what you're.
And Mount Eagle.
454, 6, 454.
And
In the bike park.
Bike park, we already have it.
well, yeah, the bike park, that's 454,900.
15,000 each for that, is that what you're saying?
I would just say general, I mean, I don't,
Can we-
I wouldn't
yeah.
break it down for park.
Just put in,
Well, we got two accounts there, we got a.
Well, we have-
Improvements, mid-sink and capital improvements water.
Right.
We can have Mount Eagle.
So
We
what?
have another park, it's called Mount Eagle Park, so in other words, we'll be split between the three of them wherever we need.
well, actually, we have the bike park, but you're saying that's a different item.
Right, that one has that one,
It's broken up, so maybe do we wanna do that? Because we really don't know. Well, we could,
Well,
50-50.
we may be able to transfer it later, as long as we have the form.
This is, yeah,
I think we can transfer it within the budget next year if we had to,
okay.
but just put the amount. So we'll do 15 each, or add a line on for that third.
Yeah, I think 15 each.
Okay,
Two.
And we can move it.
Right,
Yeah.
as long as we can move it around.
okay, so then so what I'm hearing is capital improvements for waterfront, 454,600 will be increased to 15,000.
right.
Capital improvements for Minnesink, 454,700 will also be
No,
increased.
it would add 15, not increase 2. They want 30.
Can we bring them up to 15?
Well, there is
I think if you put them at 15 each, I think that's fine, rather than.
The difference will be, it won't be a plus.
Right, just make them both 15, I think is what.
Sorry, John?
Yeah.
So they're both 15,
Right,
30,000 total.
Right, we're gonna add, right, it's not gonna be a $30,000 change, because there's already
Money in there.
Right, but not much, right? So
No.
2,001,
right, so 454.6 and 454.7.
So it'll be less than the actual.
Right.
So we're gonna make them 15 each.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That'll allow for substantial improvements in both.
NEMO, again, it's a intermunicipal part.
We do have that 10,000 still sitting around Berkheimer, I think that is, and, you know, as the Parks Liaison, I'd be happy to talk to them and talk about, you know, once we have some figures, and say, hey, we can, you know, do these improvements in Mount Nebo with that.
I'd kind of like to keep that separate, because some of the dinosaur playthings that it was intended for could go into one of these parks, but they're expensive, so I'd like to keep that.
Okay, well, I was just brainstorming because you were talking about Mount Nebo, but I am fine with moving on from this point then.
That's good, all right. Commercial solid LSA grant expense.
That didn't actually get changed, that's just a note.
Oh, that's, okay.
Okay, so that's it, right? That's all you have.
Those are all of the changes that I proposed.
I just want to bring a note, I know we talked about the payroll costs, and it does look like the functions were working, so the numbers that are populating the payroll taxes look to be correct, based upon the changes that Julia made.
So what does that put us at overall?
Probably about 150,000.
Negative 161.
Negative 161
Negative. So we have to add that to the
transfer.
use of, what line item is that?
That is,
395,020.
The exact number. It's 161,242,98.
That will be added to the 395,020 balance,
Yeah.
which is at 58, so what would that?
1 second, 'cause I think I zeroed that out altogether.
Oh, you zeroed that out, okay.
What was that number again,
95020?
395.
So just to make
Right,
sure
I-
everybody's on the same page.
You already
the
zeroed
last
that
line
out, okay,
item
so that is the amount.
The fund balance forward will now be $242,98.
All right. That's,
I come
so
up
that's,
with the same.
what's that?
Mine agrees, as I was making changes as we were talking about them, and it agrees. So where does this put us? Are there any other further issues that we need to take into consideration with this budget?
So basically, we're at the point right now where, board, are you okay with this, with us running this deficit for this year? Or should we look at cutting other expenses to try and lessen this?
Well, what was it last year?
The transfer?
Yeah, funds for last
Wasn't
year.
it like 123 or
I
something?
think that's the sum. So we're at 160 now, 162. That seems pretty reasonable.
It does, yeah, it does. And again, as, said today, earlier today, that we have the money to cover this and balance our budget. And I think it's right now, Julie, thank you. And it looks like a pretty good budget.
This is gonna be the budget that we're gonna have.
This, I would be fine with that. It is definitely, I mean, it's amazing, you know, because we've done some gymnastics, and we've spent a lot, you know, we've made some really good investments, particularly when it comes to things like, you know, the bridge. I think we all would have hoped that this could be less, but with the improvements we want to make without earth-shaking changes, it's probably the best,
You got no
best it could be. And it puts us in a position next year to, you know, where we're not going to be repairing the bridge again or doing that, you know, well, not next year, but the following, you know, budget season. We won't be having the same consideration, and we'll have delivered on some park improvements.
Right, improvements to our parks, as Robert said, is long overdue. We'll be able to take care of our road responsibilities, and we'll have adequate
What
funds.
about that major bridge repair that we, is that in here?
Yeah.
Yes,
That is,
Yeah.
So how much?
123 and 77, so
Okay.
we have 200,000 together,
All right.
combined with that.
Yeah.
So, that was like,
And that'd be about half of it if they have to replace it. But, yeah, it sounds good.
we balanced out.
Yeah, there's the,
okay, and, so then going forward from today, is it, I know where's my phone? That our meeting's at 4, so I mean, I don't know if we could feasibly have a final version unless these work in order to move to advertise them at the end of today. That gives us the 20 days that must be public.
You mean you have a meeting today at 4?
Yeah.
Right,
So you can approve this new budget and.
well, to advertise
To
it,
advertise, right.
you're right.
have it on hand,
And then, and then do the final approval after the advertisement.
at a public meeting.
Yeah.
Well, if that's possible, but if not,
I think,
fortunately.
you got the spreadsheet, so you just gotta print them out.
Right.
Put the nice meeting.
Yeah, and then we'll need to, you know, get the clean copy to advertise, obviously, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, as long as
But
we
you
have.
can approve that today, later. That version.
We'll be on our website, will it not?
Yeah,
It'll be on our website, and of course, the paper, it's,
Oh, that's
20 days,
Put it on the website,
not yet.
put today's meeting, no, you can't.
well, I mean, it doesn't have to be on today. If we move to advertise it today, we don't necessarily have to
Yeah, we can,
say, here it is, public. We could just say, give us a few days to do it, but
Okay.
as soon as it is ready, we would be, you know, feasibly, the advertising doesn't, you know, the 20 days doesn't start until it's actually in the newspaper, so.
Yeah, so you can go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, so, 5 sessions, not bad.
Thank you, everybody, for all of, you know, your time and your work.
Yeah, it's appreciated. Very nice.
Welcome.
Holly? So, the adjustments are gonna be made, so will that be done by, will you be doing that and then send them off?
They're in, I have to send them to Holly after.
Holly, okay, then if you take a look at them and you're okay with them, if you get them back to us, we can address this at our work session this afternoon.
Absolutely. I think I'm right on board with you, so I'll just take a look at what Sharon has and I'll write back as soon as I get it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for doing this by Zoom. It's much appreciated.
Absolutely.
I got a motion that we adjourn.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Holly. We will,
Yep, have a good day.
you too.
Who is this?